The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savetic, and three-game losing streak is in the mist. Or, well, it's not in the mist. It's actually happening right now at this moment, which is something that the RailCats don't necessarily need, as via that now they have lost the tiebreaker for the Cleveland Railroaders because they lost again last night in a horrible fashion. I don't know. Well, I don't know what to say on that aspect of it. They were on the verge of sweeping the Milkmen and they absolutely blow it. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm just baffled at what took place last night. There's something about the Railroaders that the RailCats just can't seem. It's like they're kryptonite. It's the oddest thing. Cause I'm realistically trying to figure out this Railroaders team. Okay, because they basically put a stranglehold on the RailCats, and they were going to go into the part of their schedule where they could have just taken off and taken out the RailCats out of playoff position and put them into the ground and left them there. After the Railroaders, after that long series against them, and the RailCats, Lincoln, they played Salt Dogs, they played Sioux Falls, they had the Dogs, the Milkmen, they swept Lincoln, they swept Chicago, and they won 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee, and they were coming in hot. I don't know if something against that Milwaukee, because that Milwaukee game, I have no idea what the hell happened, because that was being up that the RailCats are notorious for this, and giving up like 10, 11 run leads and absolutely blowing it. And I don't know what it is. I don't understand it. I don't know what it is about this pitching staff that when you have this big of a run, I don't know what it is about Lamar Rogers when a pitcher gives up 6 runs and can't finish a third of an inning. And no one's in the pool, and you're just gonna let them suffer. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't. You are on the verge of sweeping a team. I know I'm going back. I know I'm going back a couple games, but you're on the verge of sweeping a team, and you're not gonna throw the entire bullpen at them, because if that were to happen, if he would have thrown the entire bullpen at Milwaukee, and they would have walked away with a couple scratches, but walked away with the win. We'd be in a different situation here, because the RailCats would still be up by a half game at this point, and they may have lost the trail, the tiebreaker. But then going into tonight, it would make it easier to be up a game and a half versus being down a full game. Like you would have given yourself a cut. So there's more to just managing. I get you want to live in the moment, you want to live in the game, but there's a bigger picture on the outside of it. And the RailCats coming off of a 6-game winning streak, 5-game winning streak, right? Let me double check real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. 1, 2. Yeah, 6-game winning streak, and now going to lose 3 in a row. I don't know what it is. I mean, the game not last night, the night before. I just don't think the bats were there. I think the pitching was there. I kind of, with me working the new work schedule, and then with having 3 trucks in a row, I was listening. I was watching the game not last night, the night before, and I went to go lay down, but still watched the game, and as soon as I put my head on the pillow, I fell asleep. So I can't really comment much on that, just a little bit of what I saw, and it just kind of seemed like the offense wasn't there, and I think that's what we're running into again, is the offense is sputtering out, which we've seen all year. We get hot, we get heavy, we get all these runs, we score all these runs, and then it's just when you really need to produce, you don't produce, is what I'm getting from this RailCats team. Not saying that they didn't need to produce against Milwaukee, not saying they didn't need to produce against the Dogs, but this is to take a stranglehold right? A complete stranglehold on the Cleveland Railroaders, and you piss the bed. Like, we can't have that. When you're looking back, when we look back at this year, we're going to look at that Cleveland Railroader series, and say this is where they faltered. This where Cleveland was at the beginning of the year. Yes, they have gotten better, but this is a team that's very capable of getting you've done it multiple times. Their starting pitching is you absolutely dominated, and then just something, it's like a vice versa switch is, the RailCats kill their starting pitching, but then when the relief pitching comes in, they can't touch them, and vice versa, the Cleveland can't touch the RailCats starting pitching, and then when you give them the relievers, they just kill them. There's something about it I don't understand. Going into last night, did Harrison Francis have his best night? No. His command wasn't there. They were able to hit the ball. But when I go back and I look at Cleveland's where they scored, okay, Taylor hits the home run at the beginning of the game on a full count, basically, which, all right, that happens. His command's not there, that happens. But then he gets out, gets a ground out, gets a caught stealing, because Simpson walked. And this was another thing, when we get, after they get Nair out, Simpson walks. And I know this is a discussion for ages, and will be a discussion for ages until they actually decide to fix it, because I think it should be fixed. Simpson got caught by Francis on a pickoff move, but Francis missed Graveman, and later comes around that Matheson scores Simpson. It doesn't go against Harrison because it's an error, right? If it's an E1, the pitcher did it to himself. That is an earned error. I understand why it's not classified as an unearned error, but it's the pitcher. If you see E1 right there, that's an earned run. All right, no matter what it is, that's an earned run. The pitcher caused the error. That's like you spilling milk and your mom saying it's okay, I'll pick it up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's your your jail free card. Like, here, get out of jail free. There you go. Like, no, that's an earned run. Like, that's on you. That's beside the point. There was just a couple of like defensive plays that by Scanlon, he was better in center field. I thought he was getting more comfortable. Last night's game, I don't know what the heck was going on. He misplayed 3 or 4 balls. Like, I know one was an error on him. It got down. That was the one I wanted to argue. I don't know which one it was. I wanted to argue it because I don't think it should have, or was it? Yeah, it was one of the one of the first ones. But the ball was hit to Scatlin, and he let it drop in front, which is fine. If you're going to let a ball drop in front of you, I am perfectly okay with that, right? It's okay to sometimes be passive than be too aggressive and completely screw yourself. And I guess that's one thing from Scatlin that I'm unsure of, is I don't know if he understands the process of making a decision. Like, no matter what, when I sat in the outfield and I saw what runners were on base, I was like, okay, this is what needs to happen. If I have a fly ball that I don't think I can get to, I don't want to ruin the risk of screwing my team and letting 3 people score versus letting 1 drop and 1 score, right? The decision, that's why I don't know if he doesn't know how to read it. Everyone in the outfield except Mariaga, I don't know if they can read a ball off the bat. I really don't think they can. Not saying that Castillo did not have a beautiful diving catch. It was late in the game. Yeah, it was the top. It was the seventh for third out and game ending or ending hit by Taylor. Scanlon, when going back to Scanlon, he let the ball drop in front of him, and then he totally missed it. But they gave the guy a double. All right, it should have been a single E8. Did I write that? I could have sworn I wrote that down. Oh yeah, my bad. It was here in the fourth. Arroyo, hit the ball, and that brought in Clemens and it brought in Taylor. Later, Arroyo would come around to score on a Naylor single, but it should have been, in my eyes, a single E8, giving up the 2 runs. I mean, that doesn't help anything. Get in front of the ball. You're trying to half side it. The ball goes flying past them. There was later in the game. Was it later or was it earlier? I think it was the earlier one. I think it might have been the Taylor one. Where no, it was later in the game because the lights were still in full effect. I kind of forget, but anyways, the ball is a routine fly ball and he missed it. Like if Castillo was like Mariaga's speed, he might have caught it. Like that's how far, one, it was into center field, and two, how easy routine play it would have been. I mean, he only had to come up like 10 feet and it just dropped in front of him. Now, I'm not saying I don't know, because he made a catch right after that and it looked like he was battling the lights. So I don't know if it's the lights, if he just can't read it off the bat, or it's got to be one of the two things. Either he didn't read it off the bat, or two, he lost in the lights. But it didn't seem like he lost in the lights because he didn't react in the way that someone lost in the light, because normally they kind of look like a deer in headlights, because they look up and they're kind of scared because you don't know where the ball's going to be, because you might get hit by a ball, you never know. It just looked like he just straight up didn't want to catch it, or just didn't read it. I don't know. Not saying that the defense didn't help out at all in this game. It is, 2 errors, one on Scanlon and one on Harrison. It just, I don't know. There was just a lot of things that happened that kind of piled up, and yeah. And then on top side of this is what I was confused by. Earlier, I know that the new pitcher that the RailCats just signed pitched, not last night, the night before, which, people that aren't at the game and don't understand the team may not always see that. Like, I wasn't really at the game, and none of that's ever announced. Like, hey, yeah, the RailCats got a new person. Like, that still pisses me off. That's the most irritating part of it, is that you're telling me that I get the league probably sends out at a certain time the people that have been signed and the people that have been released, but it should be one of those that the RailCats should be able to put that out. Like, I don't know why. It's beside the point. So the RailCats signed, I think it's Ryan Santos. My internet's just taking forever today, or it's just Point Streak taking forever to reload. But they got rid of Augie Voigt. Okay, you may not like what I'm about to say. You may not like it. All right, I'm just gonna Racing Santos. You just may not like it. One, I would have got rid of Jalen Smith right away. All right, he just hasn't been productive. All right, we even saw it last night. He walked 4 people. I mean, then all 4 of them scored eventually. Like, but at this point, when I look, okay, Voigt played 13 games, pitched 16.2 innings, gave up 17 hits, 9 runs, 7 earned, 6 walks, 17 strikeouts, 1 loss, gave up 4 doubles. Okay, maybe not the best, but he had a 3.78 ERA. When we go all the way down to Jalen Smith at this moment, right now, he's only pitched in 4 games. has only survived 3.1 innings, given up 9 hits, 8 runs, all earned, with 5 walks and 4 strikeouts. The other person I would say, you're probably really not going to like this, is Nick Garcia. Ever since the All-Star break, he has not been effective at all. I get that he has been great at the first half of the year, but I don't understand getting rid of Augie Voigt when he really hasn't pitched that bad. Nick Garcia, every time he's in the game, I get scared. Every single time they put him in the game, I get scared. It's the same thing with when they blew the lead against Milwaukee. He gave up 6 runs, and Lamar gave him no support, gave him no reason to. I'll get into that game in a second, because that game really really pissed me off. I mean, even last year his numbers are halfway decent. I mean, he had a 5.4 ERA. But I'm just okay. Last night he did pitch. He did pitch halfway decent last night. Okay, he pitched one 2/3 innings, walked 1, strikeout 2, didn't give a run, didn't get a hit, whatever the case may be. But outside of that, a handful of games. But the handful of games don't help with the bigger picture of it. Okay? You know, when you keep giving up, when you pitch 1/3 inning, you give up 6. You pitch 3 2/3 inning, give up 6. Pitch 2 1/3 innings and give up 7. Like, that's not a consistent level. You know, yeah, he has a couple 2 where he gives up 1 run, a couple 2 where he gives up 2 runs. You know, there has been a little bit better, but it hasn't been like, oh, look at Nick Garcia's in, he's gonna shut down the game. I get scared, and not saying that I would rather get rid of Jalen Smith than I would Nick Garcia. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying he hasn't been on that consistent level. I get relief pitching's hard. You coming into a game, you know, and I guess the issue that I have is that Nick Garcia was this he came in and that first half he was a shutdown player. Right before the All-Star break, after the All-Star break, he really hasn't been the best pitcher. He has been no one to really rely on. And I guess maybe that's the issue. Maybe everyone outside of Jack Eisenbarger really hasn't been anyone to rely on besides Carlos Vega, but obviously he's gone. So, like, there hasn't really been anyone. And that's what I want to get into that game real quick, the Milwaukee game. Because what I don't understand is Nick Garcia gives up 6 runs on, like, he gives up 6 runs on 6 hits, right? At this point, you're still up by a boatload, okay? And there was no one in the bullpen kind of deal. I mean, eventually got out of the inning. But what I'm saying is, let's just look at. That's not going to show me what I need. No, it's not. It's just taking forever for this to load today, which is an oddity because normally it's pretty quick and simple. But then, like, you know, you put Jack Eisenbarger in, and this is where I get the you know, you don't want to be, how should I play it? How should I say this? You want to be a coach's or a player's coach, but don't always want to be a dictator, if that makes sense. Sometimes if you're a player's coach too much, you can affect the game. You're trying to get someone out of a slump, pitching wise, you can get out of this, you can get out of this. Next thing you know, you blow up 7-0 run or 7-0 lead, and it's 8-7, and you're like, oh well, I thought he could get out of it. That's the one that's gonna hurt the guy's confidence. And then when you have a guy come in that's has been consistent for you all year, and he pitches one pitch basically and gives up one hit and then one run scores, and you yank him out of the game. That's gonna put pressure on the next person coming in, because they know if they don't pitch well, they're gonna get yanked. Like, there has to be a fine line, and that's what happened with Jack Eisenberger, because when he came in, he gave up one hit, which was one run, and then Medea came in and walked a handful of people. Like, he was already nervous. You could already tell that he knows that if he screws this up, he's going to yank him out of the game, and that's exactly what happened. He got yanked out of the game. Or not, well, not necessarily, but to a certain extent, because he gave up 2 runs. They're just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just all over the place. This was just a game that they needed to win, and they didn't. The offense just isn't there. They haven't been. They've hit a maximum of 2 runs the last 2 games. That's just, I don't know if it's a cold spell for them and they're going to pick it back up, but you don't want this to happen. This is not what you wanted to happen. This was crunch time. This is where the playoffs, you're either going to make, this series is going to make or break you. All right? Not necessarily saying that there's still 17 games left. Not necessarily saying if you lose tonight that the season's over, because it's not. The season's not over. It just makes it very difficult. Because, like I said, okay, you're going to face Lake Country. All right. That should be a good win here or there. All right. But you go to Fargo-Moorhead. You go to Chicago. You go to Chicago. Then Kane County, Milwaukee comes back. Like, everyone that you are going to face is going to be in the playoff race, except Lake Country, right? Lake Country is the only team that really, they all the positions are still open, but they're really not. Probably really not going to make the playoffs, to be realistic. But Fargo-Moorhead, Chicago, you're going to face the top 2 teams in each of their division, respectively. Like, and then Kane County, who is above 4th place, and then Milwaukee, who's in 2nd place. I don't know. It's turnaround time. It's time for them to dig in and be productive, because if not, we're going to be we were gonna have we had no expectations, then we had some expectations to back having no expectations again. Maybe that's just how it's supposed to be. Maybe I need to just look at things positively and say, you know what? This team has battled through a lot. They have gone from not having any offensive prowess to getting some offensive prowess to having really good starting pitching and halfway decent bullpen, and them throwing in a bunch of arms that have helped in some aspect of it. Some weird moves that have been made, but going from the best probably outfield in the American Association to a so-so outfield, but hey, at least they can hit the ball, or getting rid of a fan favorite that has played every game up to the All-Star break and releasing him for a handful of people that really can't play the outfield. But the positive to it is that they have been, Castillo has been very good offensively. Scanlon has been a good 9-hole hitter. There's a lot of positives, I guess. When the RailCats were winning those bunch of games, Wall Raven was the leadoff hitter, and now they're sitting him in 3rd, which I don't know. When things are going well, I would expect things to kind of stay the same and not just always switching up. But I try to be more positive. I try to that positivity. It's just very hard when this is the part where I get frustrated, because at the beginning of the year, not saying that I wasn't a RailCats fan, I would say I was seeing it more from an outsider and knowing that the team hasn't been good and seeing the positives. It was a lot easier for me to see the positives. Now that I've gone to games, now that I've watched plenty of games, now that I'm covering them, that I'm really getting into the depth, I'm really understanding the situation that the RailCats are in. And I'm being more negative, I guess, because I understand the situation the RailCats are in and how big of a situation this is, and seeing the potential of these players, and not just saying, "Oh yeah, they're just a bad team and it is what it is." No, this lineup has potential. The starting pitching has shown the potential. The relief pitching really hasn't. The defense has gone down. That's just what I have seen because I've been able to watch the progressions and the ups and downs and left and rights and what's going wrong and what's going right. Yes, their home record is terrible. Their away record's a lot better. I don't know if it's because it's a bigger ballpark that they play in, and that's why it was more suited towards players that were able to play small ball. I don't know if it's just... I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just something along the lines of distractions, interacting with fans, that kind of stuff, but there has to be something that's going to change. Ideally, you want to be 75% at home. Win record, I would say. It's 60, 70, around that range, and you'd be 50-50 on the road. Typically, good teams are around that region there. But I don't know. Maybe it's just that. Maybe that's just that year, this year where they just can't win at home. The bats are coming more alive at the steel yard. I think with at least having the bullpen moved where the bullpen is now. Left-handed at bats are able to hit more home runs, but I don't know what it is. There's power on this team, and not all the time does it always show. There's just not always consistency to the team, which I get it. It's fine. They just need to... Yeah, it's just a frustrating loss. These last handful of games have just been frustrating. The 3-2 loss, I can take that a little bit better because it was a hard-fought battle, but losing a 10-11 run lead and losing it and getting blown out by a team you shouldn't get blown out by, it's just upsetting. Because now the RailCats are a half game back. They lost the tiebreaker. If they win today, they're a half game up. And if they keep winning, they'll stay in that position. But if they lose a handful and Cleburne wins a handful, they're out of it. Like, Lake Country is only 5 games back, but I just don't see that happening. But yeah. Well, if you're as disappointed as I am, just let me know down in the comments. If there's something more positive that I should be looking at, go ahead and comment down below. At this point, what were your expectations of the team as we're coming down to crunch time? When going into the year, what was your expectations, and did your expectations change at the All-Star break? Have they just kind of stayed the same all year, or whatever the case may be? Comment down below. I'll respond to your comment, questions, concerns, all that good stuff. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook at RailCats Talk. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel, what you're listening to or watching this on right now. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, and whenever you're listening to this, and go Cats.